Part 289. Farmer's Blessed Girl. Author, Yu Yuzu. Chapter 2888. Fang Xiancheng didn't expect him to make such a big move, so he couldn't help but say, "Sir, even if you change all the managers of the salt works, we're afraid it will be difficult for us to control the salt works." He lowered his voice and said, "It's not that Magistrate Lu has not tried this method before. It's just that both sides suffered in the end, and the Magistrate Lu couldn't afford to gamble, so he took a step back before the loss was even bigger, and a steward surnamed Song was replaced at the salt field." In a word, the previous county magistrate, surnamed Song, was a clan brother of Song's chief bookkeeper. After he resigned due to illness, Fang Xiancheng replaced the other party, and the Song director was brought up at that time, and the Yanchang side was still in charge of the Song director. Therefore, Fang Xiancheng was promoted all the way by the Lu County magistrate, and the Song master was from the Song family. "What about Dong Xianwei?" Bai Shan smiled slightly, and said to the county magistrate, "Don't worry, I can bear the worst outcome of this matter, so you can do it with confidence. The sky is falling, and I, the county magistrate, will bear it." Fang Xiancheng stared at Bai Shan for a while, nodded, and then retreated. Is this the difference between an aristocratic family and a poor family? Or is there a difference between background and no background? If it is the county magistrate, he must be slowly, and he must not dare to make such a big move. Man Bao watched him leave. "Tisk tisk, you don't have enough manpower. Fang Xiancheng is the magistrate of Lu when he opens his mouth and closes his mouth." Bai Shan said nonchalantly, "It's enough to subdue him, but I'm just here, and we don't know each other very well. After another 2 years, look at who he is." Bai Shan said domineeringly, but Zhou Man still asked him, "Who are you going to use at the new salt farm?" "Since Fang Xiancheng is the county magistrate of Lu, he can't be used. You must know that Qingzhou is not close to the sea in more than one place, and this thing cannot be spread at will before it produces results. Even Zhou Man, who is a good teacher, knows that it is his own merits that he must pay close attention to, and that he cannot take advantage of others." Bai Shan pondered, "I'll look for it again. If Wei Dong is available, I'll use it. If it doesn't work, I'll have to ask someone from my family." Bai Shan asked her, "Are your brothers and nephews willing to come with me?" Man Bao pondered, "Liz Hong can't do it. He is still farming and studying in Zhuangzi. They are going to elect officials for Lixu. What do you think of Li Wei?" Bai Shan couldn't help sitting up straight and nodded again and again. "He's not bad, write a letter back and ask him to come over." Bai Shan got up and walked a couple of times, thinking, the matter of salt is not only about the salt field, but there are still many things to do in the future. It's just that Li Wei came to my place. What about the fourth brother? Man Bao waved his hand and said, "And Li Jun, don't worry, there is no shortage of people at home. That's the benefit of having more family members." So Bai Shan turned to the back of the desk, picked up a pen and started to write a letter to his family. "Qingzhou is too far from the capital, let Li Wei bring his wife too, so as not to miss him." Man Bao made to him and said to him, "Ask your family again, is there any news from the imperial physician's office? Why haven't you sent someone to me?" Man Bao had been writing to Xiao Yuanzheng for a long time, but there was no news at all, and he did not know whether he would agree to send someone over. "We don't know whether Xiao Yuanzheng replied or not, but the Zhou family started preparing for Zhou Li Wei as soon as they received the news of Bai Shan. The old Zhutu said to him, 'When you get there, you have to listen to your uncle and aunt, and don't make trouble for them.'" Zhou Li Wei responded. Mrs. Lu came over to talk to old Zhou Tiu and Qianxi. "Bai Shan is the only son, and he doesn't have any brothers, so he will need more care from his in-laws in the future." Qianxi smiled and said, "This is a courtesy for my family. Uncle is willing to bring a few children, which is a blessing for the children. Long Zhou really wanted such a blessing. After hearing the news, the main family who stayed in the capital couldn't help but came to the door and said to Mrs. Lu, "It's not convenient to always live in Zhou's house. After all, this is the dowry of the niece's daughter-in-law. If it spreads out, outsiders will say that we are Long Zhou Bai is incompetent, Bai Shan has eaten soft rice." Mrs. Lu said with a smile, "Jun Sanlang is too worried. Our grandparents have lived in Zhou's house for so many years, and no one has discussed it before. How can you say it now? This time is different from the past. At that time, the two of them were not married, so it can be said that they were living in the future Yu family, but now that the two are married, it would be inappropriate for you to live in Zhou's house." Bai Min said, "You are not in the capital. I bought several yards, so I might as well choose one to move out." Mrs. Lu smiled and said, "I'll go back and discuss with the children." Before the two children went out, they had already entrusted their in-laws to take care of our mother-in-law and daughter-in-law. "If you move out suddenly, I'm afraid that the outside world will think that our two families are not on good terms, and our two children it was also embarrassing, so I told the children to talk about it again." Bai Min was silent for a while, and could not find any other better excuse to persuade, because he also did not want to deteriorate the relationship with the Zhou family. He paused for a long time, and finally said, "I heard that Bai Shan is struggling in Qingzhou, and there is no one available." Mrs. Lu, "I haven't heard the child say it. He wrote back and said that it's fine over there, the spring seed is about to end, and he gets along well with the officials and people of Qingzhou, but because he and his wife are busy, so the family is very busy. No one is taking care of it." Mrs. Lu knew why he came when he asked about the manpower, and without giving him a chance to speak, she said directly, "Originally, I wanted to bring the Zheng family there in person, and the two children were busy outside, my mother and I can help them take care of the back house. But both children feel sorry for me, and feel that Qingzhou is a long way to go, and the past will inevitably be exhausting, so they didn't let me go, and your younger brother and sister didn't want to leave me. In the end, I asked my in-laws to let a child from the second room of their family go there. Take care of the two children." Bai Min hurriedly said, "Auntie, there are many descendants in the family. It's better to pick a few children from the family and send them there. You can't keep bothering your in-laws." Madame Lu was stunned for a moment and then smiled, "Let's pick again next time, the in-laws have already packed up their things now, and it's not a big deal." Li Wei's child went over to call them. "Chores," he said again, "the children of the clan should still focus on reading, and it will be good for the imperial examinations in the future. How can they work on these mundane tasks?" Bai Min, "It is because some of the children have difficulty in studying and becoming an official, so they have to go out with the people in the clan who have been admitted to the election, and have some future prospects. The children of the poor family who are appointed as officials will bring their relatives and family members to take care of housework and external affairs, and some small families will naturally do the same in order to train their children. Of course, they will have a higher vision, and what they want to do is not to be subordinates or helpers for common affairs, but to directly participate in local affairs." When Bai Shan left, he took Daji and Lu Gui, and even the cook with him. Now he wrote a letter to ask for someone, obviously not for the so-called housework. "I have my own hands, so I let people pass. Such an opportunity is actually so cheap for the Zhou family. See you at 6 p.m. Farmer's Blessed Girl." Author, Yu Yuzu. Chapter 2889. Zhou Liwei also felt that he had taken advantage of it, so he gathered his brothers and sisters together, bought a pot of wine for them with his own money, and showed off, "You guys keep working hard, I'm going to hang out with my sister-in-law." Everyone was envious, jealous, and hated, so they pressed him to go to the Zhuangyuan building, and he must have a good meal. A few people had eaten and drank enough, and when they felt their stomachs and returned home, Bai Erlang came over to be a guest, so they went over to say hello. Bai Erlang said, I saw Xiao Yuanzheng. Xiao Yuanzheng said that Wen Tiandong had been selected by the Imperial Physician Office. He happened to be a student of Zhou Man, and he could set off when he was ready. When Qianshi heard this, he immediately said, then why don't you choose a day to go with Li Wei, and there will be someone to take care of you on the way. Bai Erlang smiled and said, you can ask Wen Tiandong when you go back. It has not been decided before, and it is also because there are many people competing for this position in the Imperial Physician's Office, Bai Erlang said, although the initial official position for Zhou Man is not as high as that of other students who directly received orders from the local authority, but there are Zhou Man's instructions have different meanings. Therefore, several people who had already decided to enter the Taiyuan hospital as a medical assistant all scrambled for it, and in the end, Wen Tiandong won the position. This Lu Sunyang and Zhou Liru also know, especially Zhou Liru. She also submitted an application report, but unfortunately she failed. Because she has been following my aunt for the past few years, the Imperial Physician's Office does not want her to continue following my aunt. Therefore, the Imperial Physician's Office has been unable to decide on a candidate, and has been concealing it from the students under it. She asked, when did Wen Tiandong decide? Yesterday, Bai Erlang said, it should be announced this afternoon. The old Zhutu turned his head and asked Zhou Liru, how is this classmate Wen's medical skills? Is he strong? Will it hold back your sister-in-law? No, Zhou Liru said, he is a student of the Department of Physical Therapy, and his grades have been good. He also went to the Eastern Expedition and made a lot of contributions, so he was selected as a medical assistant in the Taiyuan Hospital. Originally, after 2 years of medical assistance, we could all be promoted to imperial physicians. When he went to the place, he chose a different path. In the future, he should take the same promotion path as the senior brothers and the others. Zheng Gu, Zheng Xiao, and Lu Sunyang and Zhou Liru, who went directly to the Tai hospital, have a different path. Bai Erlang glanced at the sky outside, got up and said, I have to go back, and I have to enter the palace in a while. Let me know when you leave, I have something to bring to Bai Shan and Zhou Man. Zhou Liwei responded immediately. Seeing him slipping so fast, Mr. Zhuan couldn't help shaking his head. Mrs. Lu couldn't help but ask, is this child in trouble in the palace? No, Mr. Zhuang said with a smile, it's just that he was writing a notebook in the Hanlin Academy and was caught by the inspecting emperor. Since that day, Bai Erlang has been avoiding him, obviously for fear of being scolded by him. Speaking of which, it was an accident. Most of the people in the Hanlin Academy knew that Bai Erlang was writing a storybook, and he himself had a successful storybook before. The biography of Xiang Mingxiu was written by Bai Erlang. No one in the Hanlin Academy has read it, even the emperor secretly read it. After he entered the Hanlin Academy, he mostly did some work of searching for information and composing to fill in the vacancies. Everyone in the Hanlin Academy knew that he had no ambitions and would probably spend his life in the Hanlin Academy for the elderly, so the Shangguan gave him the work is not heavy. At first, he wrote the script quietly in the Hanlin Academy, but after returning from Liaodong, he was promoted. Moved to a new office. Although it is small, it is also an independent space. So he let go of himself, because many tasks in the Hanlin Academy did not require time, and the tasks assigned to him were not too urgent. Book. When I write so well, I can't help but forget the time and the surrounding environment. The Hanlin Academy was the emperor's prime minister's place, and it was also an important place for history and writing, and the emperor would occasionally come to see it. That day, the emperor was very interested, so he went to the Hanlin Academy to inspect the work. He came quietly, and the Hanlin Academy was not prepared, but most people hurried forward to show it when the emperor arrived. As soon as this person is over, it shows that someone is not there. Mingda is the emperor's favorite daughter. Since he came here, he must have a look at Bai Erlang. Anyway, it is not uncommon. He didn't think Bai Erlang would be nervous and embarrassed, so he went to see him directly. All the Hanlins naturally followed the emperor, so they saw Bai Erlang, who was holding a pen and writing with a grim expression on his face. That hideous appearance made the emperor stop, especially wanting to know what he was writing, so he quietly stepped forward to see it. Watching this is enough. In the end, Bai Erlang's manuscript was confiscated by the emperor, and everything was collected, and no one knew what he wrote, but Bai Erlang was instantly famous in the palace and the court. Mr. Zhuang did not dare to meet him. Mr. Zhuang shook his head, and didn't force him. Child, it's fine for 2 or 3 days. Bai Erlang ran away in a hurry, but instead of running home, he went to find Yin Or and asked him, have you come up with a solution? How can I get my manuscript back from His Majesty? Yin, he said leisurely, did you ask your Majesty for it? Bai Erlang sighed, no, I went around the Taiji Hall today, but I still didn't dare to go in. The emperor was not only his father-in-law, but also his biggest immediate boss. It was his fault to write biographies and do private work in the Hanlin Academy. This made Bai Erlang unreasonable and arrogant, and did not dare to speak to the emperor. Yin Or remembered the manuscripts he had reviewed before, and smiled slightly, then you just wait. After His Majesty has read it, he will ask for the next manuscripts. If you speak again, the manuscripts will come back naturally. I also want to send a copy to Bai Shanzouman and the others. How long will it take for His Majesty to finish reading it? Bai Erlang said, and what if he finishes reading and doesn't ask me what to do next? He will ask, but, Yin Or tilted his head, the time is indeed a problem, and there is another way, let the princess go and get it back. This is not a big deal, Princess Mingda said, the emperor will definitely return it to them, but it is uncertain how much. Yin, he asked curiously, where did you write it? Bai Erlang said depressedly, it was written that Bai Shan and the others went into the city and cheated to open the city gate. It was written in the exciting part, and the two sides were fighting. Alas, why did your Majesty come to our Hanlin Academy? Yin Or remembered the scene he had heard Bai Shan and Zhou Man describe, and had a bad premonition. How did you write it? I mean, do you invent a lot? Bai Erlang stared, am I such a fictional person? I just described the enemy's psychology and amazement a little more, and the rest is all true and not fabricated. Yin, he sighed, it's fortunate that the Hanlin Academy did not let you study history, otherwise it would simply be a hindrance to future generations. Bai Erlang insisted, I just calculated everyone's psychology reasonably, and the purpose of writing a book is to be fascinating and easy to understand. The books I read since I was a child are described in this way. See you at 10 p.m. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Farmer's Blessed Girl. Author, Yu Yuzu. Chapter 2890. In order to let Bai Shan and Zhou Man see his new manuscript, Bai Erlang had to run back to find Mingda. Mingda and Bai Erlang ran into the palace the next day. First, the well-behaved husband and the emperor admitted their mistake, and then coquettishly wanted to return the manuscript. The emperor had no choice but to pay back more than half of the money, and he said with a serious face, the concubine does not distinguish between public and private, how can there be no punishment at all? These manuscripts are for him. By the way, those manuscripts are best not to be circulated, otherwise the Hanlin Academy knows that I have returned the manuscript to him, and I am afraid that he and I will be impeached. Seeing that it was useless to act like a spoiled child, Mingda could only go to Bai Erlang with that part of the manuscript. Bai Erlang looked at it and sighed, most of these Bai Shan and Zhou Man have seen it. Look, there are also the marks they revised for me. I want to send them the new ones written during this time. Mingda, Do you really want them to see your new manuscript, or let them revise it for you? Bai Erlang said, isn't this a simultaneous thing? What's the difference between the two? Mingda, if it's the latter, I can do it too. I'll change it for you. Bai Erlang looked tangled. It's not good, you don't know what happened to the westbound. What if you change it for me, and the more I write, the more wrong I will do? Mingda said, I heard Zhou Man said about the westbound trip, and he won't be biased. Bai Erlang and her stared wide-eyed, still wanting Bai Shan and Zhou Man to reform, so they thought of a middle way. Why don't you get the manuscript from your majesty first, and you can change it again and send it to Bai Shan and the others for correction. Once, he said, I promised them that the manuscript must be given to them before it is printed into a book. Mingdan nodded, okay. She was very happy in her heart, she could just participate anyway. So, how are they going to get the rest of the manuscript back from the emperor? The couple looked at each other and looked at the apse of the Taiji temple in unison. The queen did not respond on the spot and asked them to go back to hear the news. Bai Erlang was very puzzled. Is it so serious for me to write a manuscript in the Hanlin Academy? It is so serious that the empress can't take out the manuscript. Mingdan knew her father better, and said, I'll give it to the royal father after reading it. But Li Wei left in 2 days. In the evening, the emperor stopped going to the harem, and was reading with a stack of manuscripts in his hands. The queen went over and glanced at it, and took the manuscript that the emperor turned over to read, and smiled while looking at it. Mingda and the concubine both begged me to come here. Here, when will His Majesty give them the rest of the manuscript? The emperor said indifferently, I'll talk about it after I've read it. The empress couldn't help laughing, Your Majesty, if you don't give him the manuscript, I'm afraid he won't be able to write the manuscript behind him. I actually want to know how Bai Shan and the others managed to survive after breaking the city gate. The emperor was aggrieved, You have finished reading it, but I haven't finished it yet. The queen urged him, Then look at it. He said again, Didn't you find other people's handwriting on the manuscript? Apparently someone else edited it for him, and the imperial physician's office had to send a person to Zhou Man, and the concubine suddenly became anxious because he was afraid that he would give the manuscript to Bai Shan's human. They sent it. The matter turned to business affairs. The emperor tapped the quilt covering his leg with his fingers, and said to the empress, I heard Xiao Yuan Zheng mention that after each decree takes office, it will take at least half a year for the local government people know the existence of the medical department, and if you want the local people to accept the medical department, it will take more time. Although Zhenggu was derelict in his duty, the Luozhou Medical Office is the best among all the medical offices. Not only Luoyang County, but also other counties in Luozhou are well known, which has attracted many refugees to seek medical treatment at the medical office. The emperor said, last year alone, there were 128 refugees registered with the Luozhou Medical Office. This is a great achievement. The corner of the emperor's mouth twitched and he said, Zhou Man has only been gone for so long, and he actually wants someone from the imperial physician's office. It seems that the medical office over there is going well. Sending her out is considered a party. But the queen said, I heard Mingda say that Zhou Man has set the medical office in Bihai County, and the situation there is different from other medical offices. The magistrates of other counties may not necessarily welcome the location of the medical office. With Bai Shan here, Zhou Man's affairs will be much smoother. The emperor nodded, I know this too, but it's not bad to start with Bihai County. Outside of Bihai County, other places, Bai Shan won't be affected, but I want to see if Zhou Man can make the medical office open everywhere. The queen asked, Isn't the prefect of Qingzhou still in office? Oh, the emperor lowered his head and continued to flip through the manuscript in his hand, and said indifferently, I have replaced Qingzhou with another prefect. It is estimated that he is about to arrive in the capital now. When he sees me, he will take office. The queen was taken aback and asked, Is there a replacement? The smile on the corner of the emperor's mouth was slightly cold, and he nodded, yes, Wang Rong has been ill and cannot travel. I see that his health is really bad, so I let him recuperate at home. I discussed it with Wei Ji, and replaced Guo Chang. Queen, Guo Chang? He. The emperor nodded and said, it's him. Seeing the difference in the queen's expression, he laughed and said, don't look at him like a grass on the wall, but his scheming ability is not bad, and he has the will to make meritorious deeds. There are equally shrewd and strong Lukong in Qingzhou, and with Bai Shan around, I think coming to Qingzhou will get better and better. Instead, it's Wang Rong. The smile on the emperor's face faded, and he said coldly, he is too cold and arrogant, he looks down on Qingzhou, and he also looks down on the poor sons of the poor. He feels that Qingzhou is bitter and cold, and he loses face in a fight with a group of two ethnic gentry, but he doesn't know. Kings whose officialdom may not look down on him. His people, he has not despised them. Why does Wang Rong despise them? Because Wang Rong is indeed talented, he has endured it all the time, but he had to go after the new year for the appointment book issued a year ago. Ancestor, he wants to worship his ancestors, and he will take office after the Qingming festival. If this is the case, then there is no need for him to go there. Let's take care of the ancestors at home. Sensing that the emperor was not in a good mood, the empress gave him the favor, and the emperor looked down at the manuscript in his hand, just in time to see Bai Shan and the others taking the initiative to run to the West Army section. He sighed, if it is a minister of the world, they are all like Bai Shan Zhou and Zhuman, who have a heart like a child, knowing that they should hand over their talents to the country, and there will be no so many troubles in the world. The queen couldn't help laughing. If all the ministers in the world are like this, what should His Majesty repay them? I will give them high-ranking officials and honors. The queen smiled slightly. Although these words can cause infinite contradictions and disputes, she likes to see the emperor's self-confidence and publicity. Starting tomorrow, see you tomorrow. Farmer's Blessed Girl. Author, Yu Yuzu. Chapter 2891. The emperor read the manuscript with relish, especially when Bai Erlang wrote books, unlike the Hanlin people in the Hanlin Academy. Many things were summed up in one sentence. When he saw a mountain of brightly colored rocks, he could write 2 pages of paper, and 3 pages of how they caught scorpions in the desert. As for why they caught scorpions, the manuscript said that Zhou Man said that scorpions can heal the mouth. Eye crooked, rheumatism and frozen shoulder, Zhou Man used to make scorpion wine. Often drinking seems to have the effect of strengthening the body and cultivating vitality. The manuscript also said that Zhou Man planned to make scorpion wine and give it to Yin or drink. The emperor slapped his mouth and said to the queen, I will see Yin Li tomorrow and ask if Zhou Man has made scorpion wine. I think Yin may become more energetic as he lives, maybe it is really the effect of scorpion wine. The queen became worried. Your Majesty, don't eat indiscriminately, you have to ask the imperial doctor. The emperor said indifferently, isn't Zhou Man the imperial physician? The emperor watched it with relish, and complained after reading it, no wonder they have traveled west for so long, although the road is difficult, but you see how lazy they are, and they said they lived in a small town for nearly a month in order not to waste the rent. But in the end, he still sighed, I have never had the opportunity to go to the western regions, but after reading what the concubine wrote, I feel that I have also been to the western regions. The queen also rubbed the manuscript in her hand, and her eyes showed some envy. She thought about it and then said, when the weather is better, let Mingda go to Qingzhou to have a look. Since Zhou Man was released, she has been messing with me. Son, I also want to go and see what the Endless Sea looks like. This time, the emperor did not directly veto as before, but lowered his head and looked at the manuscript in his hand. After a long while, he reluctantly snorted twice, which was accepted, but said, Mingda is not well. She has to be taken care of by the people around her. It is too dangerous to go out. Although Bai Shan and Zhou Man are very enthusiastic and envious of them going west, the emperor also knows that there are many dangers in going out. When he marched to fight, many people around him did not die on the battlefield, but weakened because of unacceptable conditions, and in acute cases, people were gone in one night. His mind is so weak. The emperor read the remaining manuscripts, because Bai Erlang was at the critical point of attacking Kyosai, so the emperor could not hold back, and directly called Bai Erlang into the palace to tell him. But writing a book and telling a story are actually two different things. Facing the emperor's face, Bai Erlang could only say dryly, Bai Shan and the others killed the guards inside and took the opportunity to open the city gate. After receiving the news, General Ashina led the army. Rushed in. Emperor, I know about this, and I asked in detail. Your Majesty, this is the details. Emperor, as detailed as you write about anything else. Bai Erlang blushed and didn't say a word. The emperor stared at him for a long time, and finally retreated. Have you written the following manuscript? No, Bai Erlang deserved it very quickly this time, he said, I can't write it without comparing the previous manuscripts. The emperor could only return the manuscript to him in disappointment, waved his hand and said, go back and write quickly. Bai Erlang has always been very sensitive to people's emotions. He took the opportunity to ask, then I can write a book when I am on duty at the Hanlin Academy. The emperor opened one eye and closed one eye and said, you have to finish your official duties first. Bai Erlang said excitedly, this minister will not disappoint His Majesty's expectations. The emperor would like to say, I don't have much expectations for you, just write your book well. But seeing his silly smile, the emperor swallowed the words and waved him down. That's all, the concubine doesn't seem very smart, so don't hit him. In fact, it's not bad. The concubine doesn't need to be very capable, as long as he is nice to the princess. Although Bai Er is not smart and transparent, he has a naive air. Minda is also happy to be with him. Bai Erlang brought his manuscripts back to the Hanlin Academy. He left early after aiming for the time, ran back to Zhou's house first, put all the manuscripts in a box and handed it over to Zhou Liwei, and said solemnly, this is what I gave to Bai Shanzhou. If it's full, you have to put it away. Seeing him being so solemn, Zhou Liwei also paid attention to it, thinking it was something very important, so he nodded solemnly, don't worry, I will hand it over to my aunt and my uncle safely, even if I am gone, it will be there. Bai Erlang, it doesn't have to be like this. Zhou Liwei said solemnly, what we want, the most important thing in our Zhou family is sincerity. Bai Erlang, I have to go to court tomorrow, so I won't send you off. Zhou Liwei responded. Bai Erlang wiped the sweat from his forehead and turned to leave, but when he saw Mr. Zhuang standing at the door looking at him, he was startled and blurted out, Sir, are you leaving early too? Mr. Zhuang, it's time for the next government office, but I came back when I was delivering the book to the Imperial College. How did you come back in front of me as an official of the Hanlin Academy? Shiro. Mr. Zhuang's face sank, and he said to him, come with me. Bai Erlang lowered his head and followed him. Mr. Zhuang was a little angry, sitting behind the desk for a long time without speaking. Bai Erlang obediently stood in front of the desk motionless. Mr. Zhuang had luck, and then he said to him, we know that you have no ambitions in your career, this is not wrong, everyone has different pursuits, some like to scold Fang Qiu, some like to ask for life for the people, naturally there are also people who like to live leisurely. But no matter what your aspirations are, if you have an official position, you must do your due diligence. It's okay to write books in the Hanlin Academy, so it's still a serious business, but why even did you do things like arriving late and leaving early? The Hanlins in the Hanlin Academy are all Jinshi, scholars. In addition to the tasks in the Hanlin Academy, everyone will write some articles and poems in their spare time, or simply write prefaces for other people's manuscripts. Many things are done in the Hanlin Academy. It was done in the Hanlin Academy, so no one felt that there was something wrong with Bai Erlang writing in the Hanlin Academy. It's just that the book he wrote is a biography of the type of slander, so it seems that it is difficult to be elegant, and it happened that he was caught by the emperor in person, which caused a big wave in the palace and the court. But this kind of behavior is within the default range. Don't you bother to impeach him without seeing the censor's desk? This time, his manuscript was confiscated, and everyone just laughed in private, and no one was impeaching him. Because of his impeachment, too many people were brought out, and no one in the Hanlin Academy was innocent. Who hasn't written poems in the Hanlin Academy? Mr. Zhuang can also allow this, but he can't allow Bai Erlang to neglect his career. There is no special thing to come late and leave early, or he will come late and leave early after he has made a mistake and is caught. If he goes on, is his skin got thicker? See you at 6 p.m. Farmer's Blessed Girl. Author, Yu Yuzu. Chapter 2892. Things like sending manuscripts can also be sent after the office. Zhou Liwei left early the next morning, not today. There is absolutely no need to rush this moment. In the end, it is Bai Erlang who is anxious, and will send the manuscript here as soon as he gets it. Bai Erlang knew very well that if he made excuses at this time, he would only irritate the gentleman more, so he lowered his head and listened honestly, not daring to talk back and find reasons. Mr. Zhuang gave him a lesson, and when he saw him bowing his head honestly, he felt a little better. He asked, "What's in that box?" Bai Erlang lowered his head and said honestly, "It's some of my manuscripts." Mr. Zhuang frowned. "What manuscript?" "The biographical manuscript of the Westbound." Bai Erlang nodded cautiously. Mr. Zhuang frowned tightly, but he couldn't say anything bad for a while, so he could only sigh, "Forget it, go ahead." Bai Erlang looked at Mr. Zhuang cautiously and asked in a low voice, "Sir, is there any problem with the manuscript?" "No problem," Mr. Zhuang said flatly. "When you came back from the western regions, Zhou Man had already been fined for delaying your trip. Even if your manuscript was printed in a book and was seen by the officials and His Majesty, they would also the full week penalty cannot be used for the same reason. It's just that their life won't be too good for a while." Mr. Zhuang lifted his eyelids and glanced at Bai Erlang leisurely. Bai Erlang was stunned. He didn't expect this. He ran to find Yin Or in a daze, and asked anxiously, "You're smart, what do you think you should do?" Yin Or looked inexplicable. "I thought you guys had thought about this before writing, so you didn't think about it." Bai Erlang, "They thought I didn't know, but I definitely didn't." Yin He shook his head and said, "Your Majesty has seen the manuscript, what else can I do?" He said, "You should still write according to your original plan. Anyway, the jar is broken, so just break the jar and break it." Bai Erlang was stunned for a while, but in the end he felt that what Yin Or said made sense, so he decided to break the jar. The emperor has been waiting for Bai Erlang's manuscript, and he has to ask it once a day. The emperor himself urged him. Bai Erlang, who was lazy and would have to rest for a day after writing 3 or 4 manuscripts, couldn't care about the rest, so he could only write in the Hanlin Academy. "I still have to write at home, and it's too hard." Without a manuscript, the emperor, who was more interested in chasing him, pulled Yin Li to speak. There was no way. He was afraid that he would discuss the beautiful scenery in Bai Erlang's article with the queen again, and she would let go of the restrictions on Mingda, so he should still talk to Yin Li. Yin Or also traveled westward at that time, and he thought that there was still a lot of common topics between him and Yin Li. Regarding the Westbound, the main source of information is Yin Li of intelligence and official documents of the imperial court. He could only listen hard, write it down and go back to his son to find out. As for the emperor, it didn't matter if he didn't answer at the time. He was just a listener anyway. Seeing how enthusiastic he was talking, It didn't matter at all. It's not like he wants to hear his opinion. When the emperor finally finished chasing the manuscript of the Western expedition, Zhou Liwei and Wen Tiandong finally arrived in Qingzhou. However, they did not stop in Qingzhou City, and went directly through Qingzhou City to Bihai County. When the group saw the dilapidated Bihai County, they were all shocked and could not help but stop. The guards on the side urged them, "Let's enter the city quickly, the sun will go down if we don't go out. This kind of small city has a curfew, and the city gate will be closed as soon as it gets dark." Zhou Liwei was speechless. "It looks worse than our Lujiang County." Wen Tiandong was also a little uneasy. Why did Dr. Zhou put the medical office in Bihai County? Zhou Liwei said, as a matter of course, "My uncle is here, and the medical office will naturally fall in Bihai County." Wen Tiandong brought his own fan filter and insisted, "Sir, she is not such a loving person." The two discussed it, and finally took their family into the city, and the group went straight to the county office. At this time, there were not many people on the road. The sun was still hanging in the sky, but there was only a touch of sunset. It was time for dinner. Shouldn't this time be the busiest time in the city? Wen Tiandong's heart became colder as he walked, but Zhou Liwei was very experienced, and he said to him, "I'm busy with farming. It's time to plant rice and rectify the paddy fields, so I don't have time to come to the city to go to the market." Wen Tiandong nodded. "It's good to see Dr. Zhou." The group arrived at the entrance of the county government office and looked up. Although the county government office looked very old, fortunately it was not broken, so they breathed a sigh of relief. Zhou Liwei stepped forward, and the Yamen guard frowned, stopped him and asked, "Is there anything urgent?" "If it's not urgent, then come back tomorrow, the county magistrate has already ordered the Yamen." "Zhou Liwei, I'm looking for my little uncle." "Who is your little uncle?" "It's the county magistrate." The Yaman's face changed instantly, and a big smile appeared on his face. "It turns out that it is the Lang Jun of the uncle's family who is here. Please come in, please come in." Zhou Liwei didn't go in, but asked, "The county magistrate has ordered the government office? Are you going back to the backyard?" "Then we won't go in, we'll just go directly to the backyard." The Yaman hurriedly said, "The magistrate is still in the county office and hasn't gone back. A few people will invite you in first, and the young ones will go and report to you." Zhou Liwei went to the side of the carriage to help his wife down, and Wen Tiandong quickly helped his little wife down. This time he took office, he also brought his wife, and a girl and a servant. Because there were few people, so the Wen family and the Zhou family decided to ask the guard to protect them all the way. Fortunately, they have other goods on remand, so it is not expensive. The group went in, but before they saw Bai Shan, they first saw the guards of the Bai family. They were dressed in Yamen clothes and greeted them excitedly. "It's the lord of the second uncle's family." In the office, turning his head and seeing Bai Shan coming out, he immediately smiled and bowed and stepped aside. Bai Shan laughed when he saw Zhou Liwei. "You're here? I thought it would take a few days for you to arrive, but it's fast enough. Let's go home and talk." Wen Tiandong took a step forward and saluted, "Bai County Magistrate, I don't know where is Zhou's order." Bai Shan looked up at the sky. "She's probably still in the hospital right now, I'll have someone call her back." "No need," Wen Tiandong said embarrassedly, "Xiaoguan will just find it by himself. My family is here too, and we just need to settle down." Bai Shan smiled and said, "I'll accompany you there. The medical office is not far from the county office. Li Wei, you go back to put your luggage and pack your things first. Your yard has been cleaned up, so go to rest first." Zhou Liwei responded. When the guards saw that they had found someone, the mission was completed, so they made an appointment with Zhou Liwei and Wen Tiandong to pay the bill tomorrow, and then took the people and goods to the inn in the county town to stay. Bai Shan watched them leave, turned his head and asked Zhou Liwei, What kind of goods are the guards escorting? Porcelain and some cotton silk. I heard that they were sent to the south, and I want to come over by sea. Bai Shan touched his chin and nodded, wondering if they were not interested in salted fish. See you at 9. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Farmer's Blessed Girl. Author, Yu Yuzu. Chapter 2893. It is impossible for salted fish to be interested. They brought cotton silk. How much do they want to be interested in such stinky things as salted fish? Jo Man is sorting out the medicinal materials in the medical office. She has been persistently going to the countryside for free clinics during this period of time. Seeing Wen Tiandong's arrival, she was overjoyed, and immediately took him to the backyard, pointed to the 2 rooms that had been cleaned up and said, "These 2 rooms are for you, you can live in the hospital, if you feel uncomfortable it's convenient, and you can also rent a house outside." Wen Tiandong immediately said, "The students live in the medical office." The Wen family has also studied medicine from generation to generation. He has been a doctor since his ancestor, but his medical skills were somewhat lost when it was passed on to his father's generation. His family was generally wealthy. How expensive? Wen Tiandong introduced his wife to Jo Man. "Sir, this is the wife Chen." Wen Tiandong was very close to Jo Man and said directly, "She is nicknamed Zhenyang." Man Bao warmly welcomed her and asked them to put down their luggage before saying, "You pack up first, then go to my house for dinner, and I'll pick up the wind and clean the dust for you." Wen Tiandong readily agreed, and he also wanted to chat with Jo Man about the medical department during dinner. Man Bao ran back to see Zhou Liwei first. The 2 aunts and nephews were very happy to meet each other. Zhou Liwei was older than Jo Man. He grew up with his aunt, so they had a good relationship. Zhou Liwei first went out to dig things out, and the old Zhu only had words to bring. MRSGN made Jo Man a bundle of underwear, and MRSGN prepared a lot of food for Jo Man, including pickles in a jar, and some cured meat and sun-dried vegetables are delicious when boiled in water and fried with meat. Then he took out a stack of letters and showed them one by one. "This is from Mr. Zhuang, this is from MRS Lu, this is from young Master Yin, this is... By the way, the second young master gave me a box. I don't know what's in it. It looks very precious." Bai Shan and Jo Man sat on the chairs and started to open the letter. First, it was from MRS Lu, mostly with some words of exhortation, and then told them that the governor of Qingzhou had been replaced by Guo Cheng. MRS Lu told Bai Shan in the letter that Wang Rong, the prefect of Qingzhou, was born in the Wang family of Shenliu County and was a shrewd and capable person. However, the Shenliu Wang clan is far inferior to the Taiyuan Wang clan. I heard that there are already clansmen communicating with Taiyuan, and the 2 clans want to join the clan. And Guo Cheng belonged to Su Yang's Guo clan. Coincidentally, he was from the same clan as MRS Lu Shangshu. MRS Lu obviously checked Guo Cheng's origin, and said to the 2, "After all, our 2 families are also relatives. Guo Cheng is MRS Lu Shangshu's nephew, Lu Huan wants to call him cousin, Man Bao, and him peer." Man Bao saw this line of words and said, "My cousin. Bai Shan, he is much older than you. Even if it is a cousin, it should be a cousin, right?" Man Bao said, "Didn't I call it from my in-laws?" Lu Huan's father was slightly older than Guo Cheng, and he was a cousin. If they were called by their in-laws, they would naturally be cousins. Man Bao secretly rejoiced in his heart, and Bai Shan thought of something, and he secretly rejoiced. The 2 of them lowered their heads and stared at each other happily, their eyes filled with stars. Opening Mr. Zhuang's letter, he mainly encouraged them, and also talked about the Qingzhou prefect. He said, "Guo Cheng is like a grass on the wall. Whoever has the advantage will favor the other. Such a person is not enough to trust, so he can cooperate, but he can't make friends. He added, this person is also good-natured. As a county magistrate, you should stand upright and honest. If you can persuade you to go to the peak, then persuade. But it is better, I heard that the county magistrate of Yuta County is a shrewd and capable person, and he is honest and upright. If there is a fight between him and Guo Cheng in Qingzhou City, you can survive. Yin, or even more directly, told Bai Shan directly in the letter, Guo Cheng was dismissed from office because of corruption and profit, and His Majesty was angry that he had both sides between the prince and Prince Gong, so he dismissed him from office. But this person is shrewd and strong, there is a very good way to govern the place. My father said that not only does His Majesty often praise his talents, but also Lord Wei and Lord Tang in the court often say that he has talents, but it is a pity that his character is not good, so it can be used, but not important. You don't have to be too afraid of him, Your Majesty must trust you more than him. However, it is a big taboo for officials in the officialdom to offend Shangguan. If you don't break the taboo, you won't break the taboo, Yin he said. Guo Cheng rarely recovers. This time, he should be careful and careful. Bai Shan handed Yin He's letter to Man Bao, and said, this Lord Inspector is interesting. Man Bao also handed Lu Huan's letter to him and said, Lu Huan said that he will ask him to take good care of us when his cousin arrives in the capital. Bai Shan, do you believe it? Man Bao nodded, I believe in Lu Huan, but I don't believe in Guo Cheng. Officialdom is like a battlefield. When the interests are the same, it is natural for brothers and sisters to be respectful, and the father is kind and filial to the son. But if the interests are inconsistent, then there is no father and son in the battlefield. Bai Shan nodded, got up and said, forget the time, he should arrive in a few days. I think I have to go to Qingzhou City to see the magistrate of Lu. Man Bao looked at him in surprise, what do you see him doing? Bai Shan smiled and said, transfer the prisoners to the Qingzhou prison before the governor Guo arrives in Qingzhou. Man Bao, why should Magistrate Lu want to help you? Of course it's because I'm worthy of help, Bai Shan said. Don't worry, judging from the arrangements made by the Magistrate Lu in Bihai County, although he is more domineering in the officialdom, he doesn't want people to set foot in his field, but he is indeed a good official for the people. He has been fighting with the Song family for so many years, and I will give him a result. As soon as the salt field controlled by the Song family falls, the county government's finances will collapse. They can't control the county government's finances, and naturally they can't control the county government. Man Bao nodded. After discussing this matter, the two of them opened Bai Erlang's box. Inside was a thick stack of paper, which was full of words. Bai Shan only glanced at it and knew that it was a biography of the Westbound. He picked it up and found a letter underneath, so he opened it and looked at it. Bai Erlang wrote down the events that happened during this time, including many events in the court, and finally he also mentioned the Qingzhou prefect, and said to Bai Shan bluntly, I asked Mingda, and she said that Guo Cheng is not a good person, the Empress does not like him very much, but she also said that Guo Cheng can be used. Bai Erlang said, Mingda also said that Guo Cheng is a person who knows current affairs very well. Now His Royal Highness has a stable position. This year, His Majesty has handed over a lot of government affairs to the prince. For this reason, Guo Cheng will also be very polite to you. See you at 11 o'clock. Farmer's Blessed Girl. Author, Yu Yuzu. Chapter 2894. Bai Shan went as soon as he said it, and the next day he made an excuse to go to Qingzhou City to see the county magistrate. The magistrate Lu received an official document from the imperial court only yesterday, saying that the previously appointed Governor Wang was unable to take office due to illness, and now it is Governor Guo. He hadn't had time to send someone out to inquire about the origin of this Governor Guo, when Bai Shan came to look for him. He not only has Guo Cheng's background, but even Guo Cheng's resume, which is a bit scary, and the county magistrate Lu was speechless for a long time. When he reacted, he smiled and said, "The magistrate Bai is indeed from a famous family. Only here did I know that the prefect was replaced, and the magistrate Bai has already figured out the origin of the person." Bai Shan smiled and said, "It's just relying on a few friends in the DPRK and China to inquire about the news." Only then did the county magistrate remember that this person is not only the prince's confidant, but also his teacher is the prince's current attendant, and the junior brother is the concubine. He will not only be better informed than the officials who came from the poor family, but also better than the officials. The other disciples are also well informed from aristocratic families. His eyes flashed, and he asked, "The magistrate Bai came to Qingzhou city ahead of time to wait for the new governor?" Bai Shan smiled and said, "It will take a few days for Inspector Guo to take office. Although the lower officials really want to welcome Inspector Guo here, it is obviously impossible. There are still many things to deal with in Bihai County." Bai Shan took the opportunity to talk about the salt farm. He arrested 5 people this time. It can be said that he arrested the upper and middle and upper layers of the first floor in the salt farm, and even took out the stolen money. The county chief Yufang was leading the accounts calculated by the accountant, but this time even the chief clerk of Song did not dare to ask for mercy. Moreover, Bai Shan acted openly and directly asked the Song clerk to go back to rest at the request of his relatives. He is not in the county office at this moment. Bai Shan hopes that the Qingzhou prefect's office can accept the 5 people he arrested, and he can immediately issue a verdict, and tomorrow the prisoners can be escorted to Qingzhou city for review. County Magistrate Lu, you directly arrested the steward of the salt field, and the Song family didn't respond. Bai Shan shook his head and said, "No." The county magistrate only felt that his heart had suffered a heavy blow. Why did the Song family bite around like a mad dog when he attacked the Song family, but did not react when he met Bai Shan? County Magistrate Lu didn't think that the Song family had compromised, so it could only be. He frowned and said, "Magistrate Bai, you should be careful. The Song family and the Zhao family are very powerful in Bihai County. They really want to destroy you, and it will be difficult for the county government to continue operating." Bai Shan nodded, expressing his understanding, and asked, "Can the county magistrate take over these 5 prisoners on behalf of Qingzhou city? I don't have a problem with this. No matter how long the Song family's hands are, they can't reach Qingzhou city. They can only throw money at most, but with me, it's useless for them to throw money," said the county magistrate. Sighed. He was still worried. The Song family really didn't do anything? What happened to the salt field? Bai Shan smiled slightly and said, "The salt field has almost stopped working now. Once the stewards were arrested, the workers became anxious. No matter how the yamen urged them, they were unwilling to go to work." When the magistrate Lu heard this, his eyes widened. "Don't you know that Bihai County sends 5 tons of salt to Qingzhou city every season?" "I know," Bai Shan said. "Isn't it more than a month away from the next season?" County Magistrate Lu, if there are no workers to cook salt, what will happen to Bihai County's finances? He said, "County offices in all regions will keep enough salary for their officials when they turn in their taxes. When I left office, I only kept my salary for March, and after April, the salary will also be paid. Without the salt field, Song Zuzhu can give me the salary. Do you keep the money?" Bai Shandao, when I arrested those 5 people, I copied out a lot of things. The county magistrate said, "Those things are stolen goods, you can't use them until the governor's office has reviewed them." "It doesn't matter, I can borrow money to support it first." County Magistrate Lu, "Who borrowed it from?" "Me," Bai Shan pointed to himself and said, "I'm not short of money, just a few months' salary, I can still afford it." County Magistrate Lu, "I hate it." The financial expenditure of the entire county government is not just salary. No, no, even if it's just a salary, that's a lot of money. The magistrate Lu didn't want to talk to Bai Shan anymore, but he also showed his strength. The magistrate Lu knew that he had to choose. He wasn't stupid. Of course Bai Shan didn't come to him just to communicate about a few prisoners while taking advantage of Guo Shishi's appointment. In fact, this is indeed beneficial to both parties. The county magistrate Lu has been operating in Qingzhou for many years. Several counties in Qingzhou have been involved in the grain and herbal material cases. The one who is still safe is the county magistrate. It can be said that he is currently the one who knows the situation in Qingzhou the most and is also the most prestigious person in the counties of Qingzhou. If he is willing to help Bai Shan and Zhou Man will be much smoother in Qingzhou in the future. The county magistrate can also get a lot of benefits. The information of Bai Shan and Zhou Man's contacts in the court is enough for him to covet. What the county magistrate needs to weigh is whether to cooperate with Bai Shan or the new governor Guo. Seemingly seeing the hesitation of the county magistrate, Bai Shan smiled slightly and said, "I forgot to tell your lord that this person, Mrs. Guo and Mrs. Lu Shangshu of the Ministry of Household, came from the Suyang Guo family, and is Mrs. Lu Shangshu's nephew." The county magistrate was still puzzled. With a deep smile on Bai Shan's face, he said, "Master Zhou's own niece is married to Lu Shangshu's young grandson. Speaking of which, Lu Huan is not only our classmate, but also our niece-in-law." The county magistrate Lu reacted, and finally couldn't help raising his hand to cover his chest. His heart ached. What else could he choose? He asked, "Since this relationship exists, why didn't Magistrate Bai wait for the Governor Guo to arrive before sending him up?" "Bai Shandao, I don't like Governor Guo's behavior. Compared with Governor Guo, I trust Magistrate Lu more, but I won't be an enemy of Governor Guo either. When Governor Guo arrives, if there is any offense, I will do so. I also ask the county magistrate to forgive me." He smiled and said, "If we can form an alliance this time, no matter what the words are on the surface, in private, I will go to the county magistrate Lu. I just hope that the county magistrate will not say anything about it." County magistrate Lu raised his eyebrows and vaguely felt Bai Shan's plan. He was silent for a long time, and finally nodded in response, and the two officially reached a covenant. Bai Shan was satisfied, and the county magistrate Helu said, "I will have someone bring the prisoner over tomorrow." "It is good." At this time, Man Bao was taking Wen Tiandong to get acquainted with the medical office. By the way, he took him around the county town. Of course, he was not wandering around, but walking around the streets with a banner of a free clinic and a medicine box. "Treat people." Wen Tiandong followed Zhou Man with a sluggish expression, unable to understand how he was a good former medical assistant at the Taiyuan hospital, and now he is a doctor in the medical department. See you tomorrow. Farmer's Blessed Girl. Author, Yu Yuzu. Chapter 2895. Man Bao told him, "Maybe it's because the people are afraid of the imperial court, so even if they know that Bihai County has a medical office, everyone still doesn't come." She said, "The medical office only waives consultation fees and drug fees for people who are too poor to see a doctor, such as the lower households, so other people will not come. They prefer to go to the hospital on the street. We don't need to talk to the doctor for these patients. The pharmacy is scrambling for it. But for poor patients, we need to publicize it properly. Since they are afraid, we will show up a few more times. When they know that they can really see a doctor for free, they will naturally come to see it." Wen Tiandong said, "But when their illness reaches a certain level, they will come naturally. Why do we have to work so hard?" Man Bao said, "You can treat mild symptoms, why do you have to treat the other party so badly that you have to seek medical treatment?" Wen Tiandong, "Because when they are mildly ill, they are willing to endure it without seeking medical treatment. When they come here, they are severely ill, so we can only treat the serious disease. That's why we came out to do free medical clinics, publicize the medical department, make them trust us, and develop the habit of visiting doctors when they are mildly ill, Man Bao said. The existence of the medical department is not just about treating illnesses and saving people. She said, this is the fault of Xiao Yuan Zheng and what I have been promoting with you is the importance of the local medical office to the local people, which can reduce the pressure of the local people to seek medical treatment, but I forgot to tell you that the medical office should be a guarantee the health of the people and the health of the entire environment. Man Baidao, we all know that health is a state, and epidemic prevention can be achieved when it does not turn sharply down, so the medical department is not only for patients who are already sick, but also for patients who are about to get sick, and people who have never been sick. The first is to treat it, the second is to drive it away, the third is to strengthen the defense to prevent it from getting sick. Man Baidao, every local medical office prepares a large amount of heat stroke preventing medicinal materials before entering the apocalypse every year and makes herbal tea. Medicines and other things are given out, and before winter comes, we will prepare medicines to ward off cold and prevent cold, and help the local people to prevent cold when the winter is cold. These are considered as second and third parties. Although the methods are different, we are now taking care of the three in our free medical clinics. Wen Tiandong pondered. This is also the fastest way to let the people of Bihai County know about the medical office and adapt to the existence of the medical office. Man Bao swayed into the alley of Dawa's house, and happened to meet the neighbor next door to fetch water for their house. Filling the water tank, Dawa poured a bowl of warm water for the other party, and sent the person away with a face full of gratitude. People in this alley are all fine to carry water to Dawa's house because of rumors. No matter who is the turn to carry water, Dawa will prepare warm water for the other party, and sometimes return some vegetables and so on that the other party wants to eat. 1 to 2, although they were punished, their relationship was even more harmonious than before. Dawa's eyes lit up when she saw Zhou Man, and she immediately stepped forward and said, Master Zhou, are you going out to see a patient? Man Bao responded, stood in the alley talking to her, and asked, how is your health? It's much better. Dawa had just given birth, but she still didn't have to carry water. Her mother-in-law washed the clothes at home. She didn't touch cold water. She also took medicine every day, and she also had 2 fixed eggs. She had to give her meat and fish. After a month of raising her, she is still pale and her hands and feet are cold, but her spirit is much better. You can even see some flesh on his face. But the biggest change is her 2 daughters. The 2 children follow their mother, and they always get some food. The children change quickly. After just over a month, they have grown a lot of flesh on their faces, and their eyes are bright and angry. A bit shabby, but much cleaner than when Zhou Man first saw them. The 2 snuggled up to their mother's legs and quietly probed to see Zhou Man, because she had been here a few times, and every time she came, she gave them pastries, so they remembered her and liked her very much. Seeing her looking down at them, the 2 children couldn't help but hide behind their mother's legs and laugh, but their little heads couldn't help sticking out to look at her. Man Bao felt soft in his heart and thought they were so cute. She took 2 steps forward, reached out and touched their heads and said to Dawa, I'll change your pulse for a prescription. When Dawa heard it, she readily responded and let them enter the room sideways. After Man Bao felt Dawa's pulse, he introduced Wen Tiandong to her. This is my student, and he is also a physician and doctor of the medical department. His medical skills are also very good. If you are sick in the future, you can go to the medical department. Find him. He said to Wen Tiandong again, this is Dawa. On the 19th of this year, she was only 35 days premature, and her blood had collapsed. You can show her. Wen Tiandong knew that this was the examination for him, and immediately sat down to check Dawa's pulse. Pulse up. Wen Tiandong took out a piece of paper to write a prescription, but Zhou Man held it down and said, "There is no need for a prescription, just read the prescription and I'll listen to it." She said, "Paper is expensive. Now our medical department is in charge of itself, so we have to save some money." Wen Tiandong. He could only read out his own prescription, and by the way explained why it was so compatible. Zhou Man nodded slightly, very satisfied. "You have a good recipe." She took out a piece of paper and wrote the prescription directly, but it was not the one that Wen Tiandong had prescribed. He looked at Zhou Man in surprise. But De Hua, who was on the side, was illiterate. He heard that Wen Tiandong's medicine was good, and thought that Zhou Man was writing a prescription only prescribed by Wen Tiandong, so he was very happy and trusted Wen Tiandong's medical skills 2 points more. Zhou Man gave her the prescription and asked her to hand it over to the Guo family opposite to get the medicine, and then left with Wen Tiandong, and when he walked out of the alley, Man Bao said, "The prescription you prescribed is correct, even more beneficial than the one I am prescribing now. Better, but this recipe is not suitable for the situation of the Guo family and the Wu family." She said, "Your recipe costs about $2 for a pair of medicines in the capital, right?" Wen Tiandong had already entered the Taiyuan hospital before he came, mainly to sort out the medicinal materials and check the account books in charge of purchasing, so he said, "About 1,800 yuan. Man Bao said, "This way of eating, the Guo family has to be fried with just one set of medicine, and the Wu family will be frightened, so the prescription must be suitable for each individual's situation." She said, "Zheng Gu and Zheng Xiao have done better than all of you in this regard. The conditions of the Imperial Physician's office were very good, and the prescriptions you prescribed were bound by ready-made medicinal materials. No, you prescribed them. The medicines are too expensive. I naturally know that some prescriptions are very useful, but they are not necessarily suitable for the situation, so you have to learn to look at the same disease, and different patients have to be prescribed different prescriptions. In situations like the Wu family and the Guo family, unless it is a life-saving emergency medicine, you should not prescribe more than 100 yuan a pair of medicines. As for the medicinal materials for tonifying qi and blood, ginseng and angelica are excellent medicinal materials, but Kodano size pilosula, poria cocos and shu de huang is also good." Zhou Man taught him little by little. "How many recipes do you think about nourishing qi and blood?" Wen Tiandong lowered his eyes and pinched his fingers. See you at 6 p.m. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Farmer's Blessed Girl. Author, Yu Yuzu. Chapter 2896. The first prescription I prescribed for her was angelica as the king drug, ginseng as the supplement, and chuanqiang, bai xiao, shu de huang. This recipe warms and nourishes qi and blood, because she was deficient in qi and blood at the time, and she after the metrorrhagia got better, I switched to using ginseng as the king medicine and baizu, bai fuling and angelica as supplements. There were 8 herbs in total to treat her symptoms of qi and blood deficiency. This pair of medicines uses astragalus as the king medicine, with angelica sinensis and atractalodes as auxiliary medicines, and one pair only takes about 70 wen. Wen Tiandong wondered, why does the Wu family's daughter-in-law get sick and ask the Guo family to pay? Man Bao simply pointed out the grievances between the two families, and she said, but regardless of these grievances, people from similar backgrounds as them seek medical advice. The limit is what they can endure, and Dawa can always endure. Using such a good recipe is still because the Guo family was fined for the medicine fee, otherwise we will only use fewer recipes, and then we will have to use licorice with chuangsheng. The more Man Bao thought about it, the more excited he became, and when Tiandong said, "This recipe is not bad, even though it only has 4 herbs, but there are also rulers and ministers, and it is very good for nourishing qi and blood." Buying medicines in Bihai County costs about 35. The text is left and right, and ordinary people can afford it. Carrying the medicine box and talking to the flag, the two walked out unconsciously around the alley to the well. Just when Zibing couldn't help but remind him, Joe Man was probably tired, so he simply walked out. He found a stone at the foot of the wall of a house not far from the wellhead and sat down, and continued to discuss with Wen Tiandong about the prescription for nourishing qi and blood. The women and the little girls who were washing clothes by the well turned their heads and looked over, listening to them saying something like shuangshan, licorice, shudi, chenpi, and so on. I do not understand. De Funiang happened to be doing laundry here, and when she saw Joe Man, she greeted loudly, "Master Joe, are you here to see my daughter-in-law?" Joe Man couldn't think of anything at all. Hearing someone call her, he responded casually and continued to talk to Wen Tiandong. In addition to prescriptions, there are also some pills and food supplements that are very suitable for replenishing qi and blood. In another 3 months, depending on the situation, I will stop the prescription for dawa, and then give her a prescription for food supplements. Wen Tiandong nodded. Qi tonic is more gentle. Imperial physician Lu told us that it is the third part of the poison, and tonic is the use of medicine in food, which not only reduces its toxicity, but also increases its absorbability. Well, the effect of dietary supplements is comparable to that of medicine. That's the result of maximizing the benefits. To be honest, the effect of dietary supplements is far less than that of prescriptions, but we have to use it for the symptoms. Some diseases are not urgent and can be adjusted slowly, so there are many medicated diets available. Man Bao said, at this time, the effect of emergency treatment on the body is weaker than that of medicated diet, so it is said that the effect of dietary supplements is comparable to that of medicine. Man Bao still started by replenishing her body, a condition like Dawa's postpartum deficiency of qi and blood, but when we treat it, we should not only treat it for the deficiency of qi and blood, but also to consolidate the origin of her body. The two went from formula to food supplement, and from food supplement to body refining. When subspecialization, why is the great medical skill that includes the body called physiotherapy? Because they are all treatment methods for the body, it is called physical therapy, and natural body training is also one of them. However, this method is only briefly mentioned in the Imperial Physician's Office, and it does not teach specifically because there are too many courses. The knowledgeable physicians thought it was unnecessary to teach, and when the students became more familiar with the human body in the future, they would naturally understand by themselves. At this moment, Zhou Man told Wen Tiandong, training the body is also an extremely effective treatment method, and the effect is even better when combined with food supplements. Zibing couldn't help but looked up at the sun that was about to reach overhead, and then looked at the women and girls who had already washed their clothes but didn't go, and who had to linger by the well in the face of the sun, couldn't help reminding them. "Zhou Man, miss, are you hungry? We should go back to eat." Only then did Man Bao realize that the time passed so quickly, it was almost noon. She felt that her mouth was a little dry, and Wen Tiandong also reacted, and couldn't help but feel a little annoyed. "Sir, it's the students who didn't think carefully, or should we go back first?" Man Bao nodded. When I got up, I realized that she had come to the well at some point. At this time, there were many people sorting wet clothes in the basin, so I greeted them. "You are doing laundry, the sun is slowly getting hot, it's better not to be in the sun right now." Zibing, "They have already washed themselves, if the lady hadn't been here, they wouldn't have stayed here forever." In the crowd, a woman hesitated for a while but couldn't hold back. She stopped Zhou Man, who was about to leave, and said, "Master Zhou, can the doctor be exempted from the consultation fee?" Man Bao froze for a moment, then smiled and nodded, "Yes, if you don't want to get medicine at the medical office, you can take the prescription and go to the pharmacy outside to get medicine." The woman immediately said, "Thank you, sir." She got up holding the tub and hurried away. Man Bao watched her walk away, and listened to the women in the crowd talking. Is it for her daughter? Not long ago, Zhejiakan came to announce the good news, saying that her daughter gave birth to a son, but after she went back, she came back. His face was not very good looking, and he even cried. I heard that the bleeding continued after giving birth, and the situation is not very good. Did you ask the doctor? Please, I thought it was okay, but it doesn't seem okay to look at it like this. Man Bao turned around and took Wen Tiandong away from another alley. The wells here are several alleys, and even several streets share a well. There is an open space around the well, where people wash rice, vegetables, and clothes. Every morning and evening, the well is the most lively place. Therefore, several alleys can lead directly to the well. Zhou Man is already very familiar with this area. Although he still gets lost occasionally, he finds that he can't find his way back, so he can just ask people to ask. The two teachers and students quickly returned to the medical office. Man Bao didn't want to have dinner with Wen Tiandong, so he made an appointment with him to continue going out in the afternoon and then went home. Bai Shan was also waiting for her to come back for dinner. Seeing her coming back with a refreshing look, he asked, "How many patients have you seen today?" 1. Bai Shan split his chopsticks hands together. Are you so happy? Man Baidao, I didn't look for patients very seriously in the morning. In the afternoon, we went to look for a patient. But Wen Tiandong is eager to learn, so I'm very happy. After listening to Chuangshan licorice all morning, Zibing asked, Ma'am, didn't you talk about qi and blood qi licorice in the afternoon? Julan laughed and asked her, are you dizzy? Zibing said in distress, I understand every word, but I don't understand all of them together. It's boring to stand beside me. Everyone couldn't help laughing. Bai Shan turned around and instructed Mei, go and make a cup of mint tea for the lady. Do you have a sore throat after talking all morning? See you at 9. Farmer's Blessed Girl. Author, Yu Yuzu. Chapter 2897. Man Bao took a sip of water first and asked him, how's the county magistrate? Bai Shan said, he agreed. Of course the magistrate of Lu agreed, otherwise if Bai Shan and Guo Cheng were to join forces, it would be as Bai Shan said. Guo Cheng is a man who values interests and power. They are both in Qingzhou City, and there will definitely be conflicts. As a prefect, his power is still very high. Big. At that time, if Bai Shan forms an alliance with Guo Cheng, it will be the worst for him. Man Bao thought for a while and said, in the past 2 days, I will first take Wen Tiandong to get acquainted with the county seat, and then take him to the countryside. When Governor Guo arrives, I will talk to him about the development of the medical department. Bai Shan nodded, be careful when you go to the countryside. Man Bao should go down. However, Bai Shan wanted to take Zhou Liwei to get acquainted with the county government these 2 days, so he took him by his side to handle various government affairs, mainly to let him get acquainted with the county magistrate Dong Xianwei and others. Fang Xiancheng couldn't help but read Zhou Liwei's words, and felt that he was not here to be Master Bai Shan, so he couldn't help but ask, where do you want to put Zhou Langjun? Bai Shan smiled and said, let's get acquainted with the county government first. Wei Dongxian felt something, and couldn't help but glance at Bai Shan. Sure enough, within 2 days, Bai Shan took Zhou Liwei and Dong Xianwei to the countryside and took them directly to the new salt field in Dajiawa. Many salt fields have been opened here. The village chief listened to Bai Shan's instructions and led the villagers to dig a deep gully to extend out. When the sea water is poured back, it can flow into the various salt fields along the gully. Even if the sea water cannot flush the sea water, it is easy for them to pour the sea water into the gullies. But at this moment, not only the salt field was opened in the front, but the sunny land on the hillside at the back was leveled and ridged, and it became a divided field. At this time, the field was also seawater, but it was thinner. No, it can't be said to be thin, but there are white crystals underwater, which seem to raise the ground a little bit, making it appear that there is less water. When the village chief saw him, he excitedly greeted him, "Your Majesty, come and see if we are drying like this. Do you think there is salt in this field?" Bai Shan stepped forward, stretched out his hand into the field and twirled it. He rubbed the white crystal on one finger and twirled it. Then he put it in his mouth and tasted it. It was a bit bitter, but it was salty. He nodded with satisfaction, "Yes. Salt." The village chief had long known that it was salt, so he was so excited. He never thought that the sun would be able to dry out the salt. Bai Shan asked, "Have you used the salt here?" The village chief said quickly, "No, none of us dare to move without the order of the adults." Bai Shan smiled and said, "I just wanted to compare the difference between the salt that you basked in and the salt that you boiled. There are still some. The salt that comes out from the sun is less bitter than the salt that is boiled." Bai Shan eats two kinds of salt and thinks, "Why is boiled salt more bitter?" He looked back and forth on the water in the fields, and finally looked at the two salt fields in the front and back thoughtfully. Wei Dong didn't think about why the salt was less bitter. He only felt that the innocence of Bihai County was about to change. He was a little excited and couldn't hold back his emotions and asked Bai Shan, "Sir, these salts are of better quality, aren't they? Can you sell it for a better price?" Bai Shan returned to his senses, raised his eyebrows slightly, and said with a smile, "Naturally." He asked Lieutenant Dong, "Who do you have a better relationship with for the two inspectors in Bihai County?" Wei Dong's heart skipped a beat, and he immediately lowered his head and said, "Xiaoguan and Luo Sunjian can chat more easily, and occasionally have a drink together." Bai Shan nodded and said to him, "I'll invite him out for a drink when I go back." He looked deeply at the lush hillside road not far away. Although the new salt farm does not need firewood to cook salt, it is not good for a fire to break out in such a good place. "I will order when I go back, and let Patrol Luo bring someone here." He was stationed at the new salt field, and Wei Duoduo of Dong County was there to assist him. Lieutenant Dong Xian responded immediately, "Yes." Bai Shan was satisfied, so he introduced Zhou Liwei to the village chief. "This is the steward of everyone's salt farm, Zhou Liwei, you will listen to his dispatch in the future." Then he said to Zhou Liwei, "If you don't understand anything about the salt farm, you can ask the village chief. I'll go back to the old salt farm to find out if I can find two helpers for you." Zhou Liwei responded. Zhou Liwei wants to manage the salt field, so he can't go back to the county town. He lives directly in the village, and Bai Shan said, "I'll give you a sum of money, and then you can choose a plot to build a house near here, not only if you want. If there are long-term workers who are drying salt in the future, they will also need to live there." Zhou Liwei responded. The village chief on the side looked anxious and hurriedly said, "Sir, everyone in our village will work hard." Hearing this, Bai Shan smiled and said, "Under the same conditions, people from the village will naturally be admitted first, but as the salt field expands later, this number of people is obviously not enough. This piece of land is vast and sparsely populated because there is not much food to grow. This area of Dajiawa is basically a fishing village, and some of the further inside are mountain forests. The villages are also very small. There are also villagers who go to the sea to fish, and their life is not as good as that of Zioa village. Even if it is just for the salt field, he needs to recruit a large number of people, and some people will definitely migrate over by then." Bai Shan rubbed his chin thoughtfully. The population of Bihai County is still too small. It would be great if some people could migrate from other places. Looking back to find out if there is a way to increase the yield on these lands, I dare not say how high the grain output will be. As long as it can be the same as the Central Plains area, it will be able to feed a lot of people. With a plan in mind, Bai Shan whispered to Zhou Liwei, "Pay attention to appease the emotions of the villagers. If you have time, walk around the neighborhood to find a suitable place to build houses and live in. If you want to build more salt fields later, you must has a house. Zhou Liwei responded and asked, "Little uncle, do you want to find brine by the sea?" It was also the first time he saw the sea. He had only seen well salt, but not sea salt. He asked, "Is there salt brine under the sea?" Bai Shan had already memorized the booklet given by Man Bao, and thought about it. He said, "Some places have it, some don't. I don't know if there is one in the sea. You can find one if you have time. Look, maybe there will be. By the way, the sea is different from the river at the entrance of the village. Don't swim in the sea and be swept away by the waves. I am not responsible. Zhou Liwei, I'm not a child. I'm a little older than you. Do I need to tell him about this?" Bai Shan left with confidence. The new salt field had salt, and he let go of his hands and feet to deal with the old salt field. Wei Dong asked in a low voice, "Sir, do you want to tell Fang Xiancheng about this?" Bai Shan pondered for a moment and said, "No hurry, wait until the old salt field is settled." Dong Xianwei felt that he was Bai Shan's first confidant. No, he was the second confidant, and the first confidant should be Zhou Liwei, who just took office. However, Zhou Liwei was only a small official, and he couldn't compare with him. Wei Dong felt that he was still the number one confidant in terms of the county government. See you tomorrow.